so we're in Grand Teton right now. We are at Jenny Lake right now. This is kind of the crown jewel of Grand Teton. Notice how they're very rocky and kind of jagged up at the top. That means they're younger mountain ranges in terms of how, when they came out of the ground, basically when they got formed, they're very, very young mountain ranges. But the rocks that make up the mountains are actually extremely old, like half of the Earth's age, basically. So that's one thing that makes these, both the Wind Rivers and the Tetons, so cool. It's just these jagged mountain peaks. Now here at Jenny Lake, what you can do is take a boat ride across the lake. I think it's about 20 bucks a person. Kids are a little cheaper. And then when you get across the lake, you can hike up to a little place called Hidden Falls, which is really beautiful. In fact, Cheryl and I just spent the last week in Glacier National Park where we saw like 30 waterfalls. So many waterfalls, we can't even count them. This rivals just about any of those, I would think, right, Cheryl? Mm-hmm. We think this is really a spectacular waterfall. And then if you keep going up the hill a little bit, you get to a place called Inspiration Point, which will overlook the lake and the Jackson Hole Valley. We were with our friends. We met our friends here, so that was kind of fun. We went up there and we were in a real rush because the last boat comes over currently at 7 o'clock. The time's changed a little bit. But anyway, we had to get back down to the boat dock before it came over so we didn't miss it. And so we went up to what I'm calling lesser Inspiration Point. It's kind of a lower viewpoint, but if you keep going, you can get up to the higher viewpoint, which is the real popular thing to do to overlook Jackson Hole. Now, real quick, while we're here at Grand Teton, I just want to explain. These are the Teton Mountains, and this is in Grand Teton National Park. Grand Teton National Park encompasses much of the Jackson Hole Valley, the valley floor and everything. The city of Jackson, though, is on the south end of the Jackson Hole Valley and is not in Grand Teton National Park, but it's kind of right on the border. But the terminology is a little weird, so there's the city of Jackson, the valley of Jackson Hole is what that, kind of how that terminology works. So let's take a look at what else we can do in Grand Teton.
Next up is the historic Mormon Row at Grand Teton. You probably recognize this barn behind me. It's the Molten Barn, and it's one of the most photographed places in Grand Teton. If you come here at 5:30 in the morning at sunrise, you're gonna see probably 25 people out here taking their pictures and getting one of the best pictures I'll ever get. One of the best things about Grand Teton is how many pictures you can take of just such beautiful scenery. There's Oxbow Bend and there's the Snake River overlook. So there's a lot of really great photography moments. And so bring your camera when you come out to the Wind Rivers area in Grand Teton, because there is a lot of things to take pictures of. Now, just a little bit about Mormon Row. Mormon settlers came into this valley and set up a little settlement, and the Molten Barn was owned by one of the settlers, and there's a few other buildings that you can come look in and see what life was like in those early days. Some of the buildings are recently acquired by the national park, and they're kind of a work in progress. Last time we were here, we weren't able to go into them, and it's about 8 o'clock at night right now, and we can't go into them right now, but I'm a little curious if maybe you can go into them during the day. If you're visiting and you see that you can go tour these during the day, put it in the comments so everyone knows you can check out those buildings too. One other special thing about Mormon Row is it's home to a lot of wildlife. As you drive through, it's a dirt road, but it's pretty graded. You'll see wildlife like bison and pronghorn. So a great place to catch wildlife in the morning and the evening too.
So the next thing to do is to watch a sunrise at Grand Teton National Park. I have seen sunrises over the last 2 years. I've seen sunrises at the Grand Canyon, Bryce Canyon, Capitol Reef, Glacier National Park, and let me tell you, the only thing that rivals the Grand Teton sunrises is Bryce Canyon. Now those are spectacular. Those are just amazing. They probably beat Grand Teton, but this is a close second, and you can see that the sun is rising and hitting those mighty Tetons. It is a thing to do. There's a lot of photographers that gather around to take pictures of the sunrise here in Grand Teton National Park. If you're up for it, get up really early, around 5:30 or so. Get over here. The sun's rising right now about 6:30. Get over here to one of just many different overlooks that you can get really nice pictures of the sun hitting those mighty Tetons.
Next up is to grab some grub. We are in the historic town of Jackson, a really fun, famous spot for people to visit. And we went to Sidewinders to get some food. And the reason why we came here was, first, it was really highly rated online. And then the locals, the employees we talked to within Grand Teton National Park said this is the place to go. And the other nice thing about this place is it's not in the middle of downtown. Now I know that might appeal to some people, but parking can be a real issue And the pricing at this restaurant was very optimal. It was quite a relief to only pay between 12 and 15 for an entree instead of like 18 and up. And these were nice meals. Some of the people we went with, they got the cowboy macaroni and cheese, looked amazing. I got their very signature and featured on TV pretzel. It comes in the shape of an S. You can stuff it with cheese and pepperoni. It was super good. Next up is to go raft the Snake River through Grand Teton National Park. There are only a couple of companies that are allowed to bring their raft through Grand Teton, and Triangle X is one of them. And then outside in Jackson, there are a lot of other companies that will do whitewater raft trips. The one we went on was a scenic float, and it was actually paired with a dinner. And so how it worked is they picked us up kind of by Dornans, which is a pretty central part of the, I guess, central southern part of the park. And they drove us up about 10 miles and they fed us dinner. We had ribs, steak, and I had a veggie burger. There was salad, rolls, a cookie, you know, a little bit of country music going on. So a little bit of a chuck wagon feel. And then we got to float 10 miles down the Snake River. And something that was so special about this trip was we saw a lot of wildlife, including several bald eagles and several beaver, which made it really fun. The raft sizes were smaller. There were 12 passengers on the raft. It's very sturdy, got a few little drops of water on me, but not anything too crazy. Very safe to take young children on. The Grand Tetons are so beautiful. It's prairie next to jagged mountain peaks, and to be able to be on the water with that cool breeze, a little cooler on the water anyway, and to be able to have an hour and a half to view those mountains as you float down is a really special way to experience Grand Teton. And if you are interested in rafting in Grand Teton, which I feel like if you want to say you've done Teton properly, you got to get on the river at some point. We have an article all about river rafting, whether you want to do whitewater or an in-the-park scenic float.
Okay, up next is to go to the Houtenanny. This is at Dornans. This is actually technically just outside of Grand Teton, but it's actually right in the middle of the park. It's right in the heart. Dornans is a company that runs many things around here, like rentals. They have a few restaurants and stuff. And every Monday night they do the Houtenanny. Now this is actually like a live music venue, and it's not just some live music though. What's really cool about this is some guy started this back in the 1960s, actually a really well-known guy around Grand Teton, and it is still going as a tradition. I think it might have died out for a little while, but it got revived in the 90s or something like that. But anyway, it's been going for a long time. What's cool is the live music is anybody who wants to. Anybody can do it. I guess it's common for a lot of people to just be traveling through this area. Musicians, they're just traveling through and they'll come in here and sign up to sing at the Houtenanny, and they have to do 2 songs. One has to be an American song, and then the other one can be kind of whatever they want it to be. And the thing is, the crowd is really respectful of these musicians. So even the ones that aren't all that great, they really get the respect of the crowd. You're supposed to be kind of keep your voices down so that they can perform. And so it's really kind of a cool tradition. This is the first time we've done it. We really enjoyed it. Again, it's only on Monday nights, so you need to come here if you are in Grand Teton. Try to get some time to come over here on a Monday night to see the Houtenanny. One other thing I wanted to tell you about that. From my understanding, John Denver performed here way back in the day as he was coming through on a road trip or something like that, maybe a tour. But anyway, he stopped in here at the Houtenanny and performed, according to my understanding. So kind of a cool little slice of this valley here, a little slice of Jackson Hole and the traditions that they have here. Okay, the next thing to do is to camp in Grand Teton. So the reason why you want to do this is to save a lot of coin, because Jackson Hole and the town of Jackson are very expensive places to stay. The cheapest places you'll find are around $400 a night. Maybe you could find something cheaper if you start really early in the year and get a real budget hotel, but even the budget hotels during the busy season are going to get up around $400 a night or more. Some of the places, it's not uncommon to have hotels that are $1,000 a night or more. So we have chosen to camp here for the last 2 nights in Grand Teton. In the park, there are campgrounds that are about $40 a night. There are about 8 campgrounds in the park. The 2 largest ones are Coulter Bay up north, and where we are right now, which is called Grovant. Looks like Gross Venture, but it is pronounced Grovant. But there are some other campgrounds. They're all on a reservation system. Now, just outside of the park is Forest Service land, and those are all first come, first served. They have plenty of campgrounds as well first come, first serve on those. Now, if you want to know more about camping in Grand Teton, I've done another video explaining all of it for you, as well as a really detailed article that I've written on my website, we'reintherockies.com. Okay, the next thing to do is to visit the Jackson Lake Lodge. This is the lodge behind me here, and this is on the north end of Grand Teton National Park. This is a really amazing lodge from the inside. Now, the outside actually doesn't look all that great. Don't let that deceive you. When you go inside, the lobby is really amazing. It's very tall, and then it's got these tall windows where you can look out and see the Tetons. It's really an amazing view and a cool place to visit, even if you're not staying here. Now, the other thing you can do here is you can eat. So they have actually, I think, 3 or 4 little restaurants or lounges in there. So they have a fine dining room called the Mural Room, which does have all these murals along the wall. And there you can actually sit in that dining room and look out at the Tetons. So we had breakfast there this morning. It's a buffet breakfast, a little less expensive than the dinners. So this has kind of been our little hack, or our little way of getting into some of these fine dining rooms in these national park lodges without paying those expensive dinner prices. Food is not all that big of a deal to us, but we kind of like the experience of going into some of these cool rooms with the views and all that. So we've done some breakfasts in some of these places, and then they have some grills and some lounges, places to drink, and then just in the lobby you can just sit on the couches and relax. So you know, don't sleep on the Jackson Lake Lodge if you're in the north end here, even if you're not staying. Stop in and check it out.
Next up is Dubois, Wyoming. We are heading out of Grand Teton on our way to Lander, Wyoming, but our wonderful river guide Jim told us that we needed to stop at the Cowboy Cafe in Dubois to get some pie. So my observations about Dubois: this is a really cute little town. I mean, it's western, it's a one-street town, but lots of log structures, lots of cute little restaurants and gift shops. And I mean, I definitely would prefer to stay here over Jackson Hole. So I went into the Cowboy Cafe. It's noon on a Tuesday, and it was packed. I could tell there were locals and tourists alike in there, and the food looked and smelled amazing, but we're a little full from eating at the Mural Room this morning. So I got me some chocolate pecan pie. We also got some raspberry peach pie, and I'm gonna give this a try right now and tell you what I think. That's some good pie. Highly recommend. We're kind of on a mission to find some good pie.
Okay, the next thing to do here is the National Museum of Military Vehicles. This is just outside of Dubois. What this is just what the name says. It is a huge museum containing a ton of different military vehicles. But it is way more than just that. So when I was researching this, I was trying to figure out how much time I needed to do this, and I didn't look up a ton of pictures or videos or anything like that about it. I was just trying to figure out kind of what it was, and my guess was that it was just going to be a big collection of military vehicles, maybe out in a lot or something like that. No, this is a world-class museum, one of the best museums we've ever been to. Even Cheryl, who's not into war, said it was like the best museum that she's ever been to. It's massive. So behind me you can see the warehouse here, that big building, which is where the museum is. I shouldn't call it a warehouse. It is designed, it is a museum. Again, a very nice, well done museum inside there with displays, and oh my gosh, like they take you through many of the different wars in American history. So the very first thing to see is an actual rifle from the beginning of the Revolutionary War, and that rifle cost almost $500,000 to purchase, to put in this museum. And then it takes you through the entire history of World War II and D-Day and all the major events with all of the different types of vehicles that the military would have used during that time. They also cover other wars like Vietnam, the Korean War, a little bit on World War I. And they have it is just mind-blowing. There's just so many tanks and other vehicles that are on display here. And again, it's not just about the vehicles. They've really done an amazing job of showing the displays and giving an interpretation of them and teaching you. They have videos, they have planes and helicopters flying overhead. They have the Vietnam area. One of the coolest things, I thought, you walk through a jungle, through the bamboo jungle, and gosh, just really I am doing a poor job of explaining how great this museum is. Now here's the crazy thing, this museum is privately run. Some really wealthy guy created this museum. I mean, I can't believe I cannot believe that it's run privately, that it's not some sort of a connection to Smithsonian or supported by the government or something like that. He has just done a remarkable job. And here's the other crazy thing. It just opened in May of this year, 2022. Technically, they opened earlier, but COVID made things so difficult that they kind of had the grand opening just this year in May of 2022. And here's the other thing is, again, I didn't know how much time to allot to this as we were coming through this valley here. We're headed from Dubois, actually Grand Teton, down to Lander, Wyoming, and I just didn't know how much time to allot to this. Word of warning, if you come here, you need to allot quite a bit of time to see this, and I'm talking like half a day or more if you are even just slightly into military vehicles, history, or even just museums. It's fantastic, and in fact, your ticket that they give you is good for 2 days. Right when she gave me that ticket and said it was good for 2 days, I knew I had underestimated this museum. So definitely make it on your itinerary for Grand Teton if you're coming at all through this area, and then again, give it quite a bit of time, a lot of time to be able to see this thing.